Good morning, CSA. Is everyone half asleep? Yes. Right, can I invite everyone to stand up and just say hello to the person next to you? Well, I wanted to say well done to everyone had exams this week, so I think undergrad, FTM, CHP, BET, that's it, yeah. So everyone had exams this week, well done. And we'll just bow our heads in prayer before we worship the Lord. Our Heavenly Jesus, we thank you for this day that you've given us, Lord. This time of fellowship, Lord, to come and worship you, Lord. Fill our hearts, Lord. Let us feel your presence today, Lord, as we worship you. And for the people who can't be here today, Lord, be with them and let them know that you are God. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Yes, I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God.
This type of worship, not the purpose of our stage, but take this time, just a couple minutes. Open your hearts to God and allow Him to come in and work on whatever it is you want to pray about. This is the time that we set aside. All of us here, we're here together to set aside this time to worship and to seek Him. So I encourage you to take this time to lay out everything before Him, whatever is on your heart, to pray for yourself or for someone else. I encourage you to do that. We have some prayer requests out here for so many different things, and you may be facing so many things that you need to share. If you want to share that with somebody right now, feel free to do that, and I'll let them pray with you. Or we'll give you some time to pray together, pray as individuals as yourself before we go. As we saw us, Lord, for all these things, Lord, you know how many tragedies have happened in so many different ways, not just natural disasters, but those that, and even personal things, Lord, that we're struggling with, Father. I pray that as your people seek you, Lord, for the answers, not themselves and not anything else, Lord, but as they seek you, Father, that you, Lord, we thank you that you are faithful, Lord, to visit them, Lord, and to give them that peace and that answer that they are seeking. Father, I pray that in this time, as we seek you, Lord, help us to wait with patience for your answer. So, Lord, pray your those cries. We just give you praise for your love. In Jesus' name. Yeah, I guess I need to tell you that. Have a seat. So, my name is Leon. For those of you who don't know me, sorry, I'm multitask. So, my name is Leon. I'm a tutor here in the anatomy department. Some of you may have seen me before in labs. If you see me over here, this is not a disappointment. So, hopefully you like me in the labs, that's what I mean. So I guess we'll have one second. So we have this thing up in front here. So while you're looking at that, I guess I'll just give a little introduction to who I am again, if you've never seen me before. My name is Leon. I went to school here. I spent 3.5 years here before I went for rotations, came back, got married, and then came back, I should say. So I've been here for a little over a year and a half now, back working here. So this is my church. I love this ministry. So So again, I'll keep saying that. So if you would like to meet up, talk anytime, please feel free to do that. And I'll say this again, we have church next week in Charter. I know we say that often, but you know, trust me, you'll forget by next week. Anyways, so we have this thing up front here. Anybody know what this is? What do we call that? What's the first one to say? See, it's a good thing. You want the stickers? Everyone else a Kit Kat. So I need 2 volunteers. There we go, yeah. So we have one. Okay. As soon as you bring up candy, people start to get excited, right? So I don't want each of you to write down. I don't want you to say it because I don't want you to change your person's opinion. Write down what you see. Whatever you see. And while they're doing that, anybody know? That's Shiraz. I took his bed yesterday, I didn't go far. So, anybody know why they do this test? You won't get a candy. I'm all out of candy now. This is voluntary. Nobody wants to answer. Okay. So, I guess I'll just say that. So the reason that psychologists and psychiatrists do this sometimes is for perception. They're trying to, it's called a Rorschach test, like you mentioned before, ink blot test. And it's a series of these ink blots, and they ask people to just write on whatever you see, and they have this sort of algorithm that they go through to figure out, like, the way they think or they perceive different things. You guys got it? It doesn't have to be a whole thing. Just one thing. Oh man, I was hoping for like one word answers. Kit Kat, okay. Thank you. Oh my goodness, yes. Okay, so I don't. I think this was still there. So we were part of the CNS, so I guess they're probably doing neuro class right now. A butterfly, 2 people sitting at a table. Vanessa wrote 2 people facing each other, bent at an awkward angle, holding on, with a butterfly between them, right? So there were some common things, but there were some differences as well. The point I'm trying to make is, perception is often a subjective thing. When we look at anything, everybody could have a different perception on a matter. So, when you look at, this, I don't consider this art, but some people might. When you look at art or music or whatever it is, we have different perceptions on how those things, how we appreciate those things, and that's okay. But when we look at perception with regards to something like suffering or trials, that's also something that we need to look at. What is our perception? What is our perception regarding trials and difficult times in our life? The thing is, our perception during those times really tells us what it is we have on our mind. If during those times we have a positive or constructive perception, then that could totally change the way we go through those trials and difficult times. On the other hand, if our perception is destructive or negative, again, the outcome could be quite different. So I'm pretty sure everybody has faced some kind of trial at some point in time. If you haven't, you're lying or, I don't know. I won't make the joke out, but anyways. So again, how we perceive a situation really affects that. So in terms of trials, when I think about Bible characters going through trials, I think the first person, a lot of people, and it's me, the first person I think about is Job. Job was, actually no, let's just read, right? So we'll go to Job chapter 1, verse 8 to 12, just 4 verses. I don't have the slides up, so between your Bibles, so I'll just start reading. So the Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on earth, a blameless and upright man, who fears God and turns away from evil?" Imagine God is saying this about a man, right? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for no reason? Have you not put a hedge around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and all his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your hand. Only against him do not stretch out your hand. So from there, there's a kind of back and forth, Satan going and afflicting Job and his property and all these things with different things. And each time he goes back to God, and Job is still faithful during that time. If we skip to chapter 4, we're not going to read it. Eliphaz, Job's friend, accuses him of being a hypocrite and claims that all this stuff that's happening is happening because of some kind of hidden sin that he's not acknowledging. So that will bring me to my first one of the wrong perceptions that we could have. When calamities are punishment for something that we've done wrong. Now in Job's situation, did he do anything wrong to deserve whatever was happening? Was it some kind of punishment or righteous wrath of God being meted out to him? No. God said that he was upright. There was no reason, when I say reason, I use that, no reason, at least the way we see it, if we look at it into the calamity, there was no reason for that. So it's pretty clear that God allowed this to happen and it wasn't a form of punishment there. Sometimes when we go through difficult situations, the first thing we do is turn to ourselves. Now, that's not a bad thing necessarily. It is, the Bible says, we should examine ourselves in every situation, whether it's suffering, whether it's in triumph. We always should examine ourselves. But in that examining, are we separating ourselves from God? Is that pushing us away from God, or is that pushing us to Him? And oftentimes when we get into that mode of self-condemnation, what can happen is at least in my experience, sometimes you feel like, okay, I can't approach God now, God is punishing me for something. I don't even know what it is He's punishing me for. So until I figure that out, let me just keep a safe distance. And it's actually a dangerous distance, but that's oftentimes how we approach it. So that's one way. Another way we look at suffering and perception is we see God's love as His kindness. And if God isn't kind, then He probably doesn't love us. And I think this is one that a lot of people, at least I have struggled with. I have a good friend, grew up in church just like I did. And this is something that she's struggling with for years. Because things in her life aren't working out the way that she expected it to at this point in time. And she basically has adopted the belief, and she believes it, that God doesn't love me. She believes in God, she believes that He exists, she believes that He loves her to an extent. But for whatever reason, He loves everybody else more and not me. And that's a dangerous thing, because in that time we're denying God of His godliness, then that's who He is. God is love. And we're putting God into this box that we want Him to fit in. And that's a dangerous thing, because we limit who God is through what our own perception is. I was in Silver Spring, Maryland, doing one of my rotations. It was, elective. I spent a year in Miami, so I used to bike to the hospital every day. I don't look like it now, but I spent all of that time. So when I went to Maryland, I bought a bike there, and I used to cycle from the hospital home every day. And there's this nice trail, it's like a creek trail. I don't know if you're from the area, if you know it. It was like just at the start of fall, beautiful, beautiful thing to see. So it was about 2.5 weeks into the rotation, and it was raining that day when I was biking over to the hospital. And at some point, like I stopped the first time, tried to get my bearings on direction, cycle again for a little bit, try to get my bearings on direction. I was like, what is going on? I was cycling that same path for 2.5 weeks by that point, and never once have I had that problem. But this is the first time it rained. And I stopped, and I'm so good at this point because I was trying to get over fast, but it clearly wasn't working out. And I stopped at that point and I was like, the rain is the problem. What the rain did is, the rain was getting into my eyes, and I wear glasses, as you can see. My glasses were starting to fog up, and my whole posture was changing because I was trying not to get, bombarded by rain. Clearly I was cycling for that long, so I didn't know how to combat that. But I realized that during that time, my perception changed. I was riding the same path that I was every day, But as soon as something different came and it changed my perspective, I couldn't see clearly anymore. Everything looked different. This very familiar path that I knew looked totally unfamiliar, and I thought I was lost. And at one point I almost went down a different path. I think that's the danger in having a wrong perception about these storms in our life sometimes. It could help, force us to change our perspective and then push us on a path that will lead us lost. And that's on a path that God does not want us going down. So for me, like, that was, I was so weird, but it was a good learning experience to me, because I really understood that time how important our perception of basically everything, especially the storms in our life, the difficult times in our life, can be. So how should we look at storms and trials? And there are many different ways, and everybody will have a bunch of different recommendations, but I'll just have three. So the first one, storms give us an opportunity to see what's in our heart. Instead of, like we said before, instead of taking that negative approach to, oh, I must have done something wrong, taking a positive approach and say, okay, God, what are you trying to show me about my life? Rather than maybe focus, okay, I'm so sinful, I need to stay away from God. C.S. Lewis, and I quote C.S. Lewis a lot because I've read from him more than anybody else. I haven't read much of anybody else, so my reading is a little bit limited. I try to help that. But anyways, so in Men Christianity, he said, you never know how much you really believe anything until its truth or falsehood becomes a matter of life and death to you. It is easy to you to believe a rope to be strong and sound as long as you're merely using it to cord a box. But suppose that you had to hang by that rope over a precipice. Wouldn't you first discover how much you really trusted it? Only a real risk tests the reality of a belief. And oftentimes, that's what happens in our lives. We get placed in these situations where we really have to hold on to God. And we find ourselves not doing that. And every time before, when everything was great, we will say, yes, God, I will die for you tomorrow if I had to. Right? And I'm sure at least I've said that. And then as I got older, I was like, you know what, I probably should wait till I'm in that situation before I say that. I like to think that I would say that, but the reality is, sometimes we really don't know. We have to be placed in these situations to know if our faith really is as strong as we say it is. 1 Peter 1:7 says, these trials will show you that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. Though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Jesus is revealed to the whole world. So these trials are a test of our faith. And it doesn't have to be a test that if we fail, then that's the end. Not like, much of school in general. This test, if we do fail at this, we do have the opportunity to work on that. God gives us that opportunity to work on that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The second way you could look at trials is as opportunities to help build your faith, character, endurance, which are all these different things. If we look at Hebrews 12, 5 to 12, and I'll read it, you can turn it if you want. It says, my son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters of God. What is the focus of this scripture here? Are they focusing really on, they're talking about enduring hardships, but they're also talking about being a son and daughter of God. The focus here is saying, look, the reason you're going through our experiencing these trials, they say take it as discipline from God and approach it as he loves me, and this is why he's allowing these things to happen for my discipline. When I don't have any children yet, but when I was younger, that's a big issue that I guess all children will have at some point. Who likes discipline, right? But I always remember one time we were having this big family argument. It was just 4 of us, so it's not that big. It was pretty big in our house. So, and all that, and then my dad said, he was like, everything that we do is for your best interest. And you may not like it and you may not always understand it, but you have to understand that it is always with your best interest in mind that these things are done. And at that point he said, we may not always do the right thing, and sometimes we will make the wrong decision or the wrong choice. But understand what our intention is. Now if we contrast with God, God is perfect. So he wouldn't make mistakes. So if he is disciplining us, our parents might make mistakes, or not might, they will make mistakes, but God won't. And that's the approach. Is that if I could trust my father, okay, I'm at this point now, I'm married now, probably house, but before, when I'm in the house, after that point, I learned to appreciate and understand. I didn't always like it, but I learned to appreciate discipline on a different level then, because I saw his discipline as his love. And when we look at God, do we look at his discipline as his love for us, or do we look at it as the opposite, that he doesn't love us, and that's why these things are happening? And other scripture that we could talk about related to that, Romans 5:3-5. Not only rejoice in the sufferings, but rejoice in the sufferings when that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out in our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. And James 1:3-4, if you want to, you can write that down. I won't read it out. But it's basically saying to be steadfast. And the third one I want to mention is a little bit different from the other two. These times of God calling us back to prayer. Usually when I stay silent, it's because I almost get emotional, so I'm trying. Sometimes God uses difficult situations in our lives to get our attention. I've seen that in my life numerous times, and when I think about it, that's why I get emotional sometimes. My wife tells me, "Let's take a deep breath." She's not here, but she's good. There was a point in time when I went through like a very deep period of depression. It was for about 5 years. And I resisted God's calling during that time. I was still in church. I was still on the worship team. I was still leading. But I was resisting God because I felt like whatever else was going on this was my fault. And he was calling me back to him. And I refused that. And I fought that for so long. And I remember November 22nd, 2009 was the lowest point of that. Things didn't automatically, I won't go into the details of that now, but things didn't automatically change then, but it was the start of a change in another way. And I realized God was calling me back to a life of, it starts with prayer to him. Sometimes in these times, it mightn't sound like pride, but it is. Pride, we focus on ourselves, we say, oh no, this is my thing, this is my problem, this is what I did, and we make it all about me. And what does the Bible say? It says look to God. Don't look to these situations. Don't look to everything that you're seeing in front of you right now. Are we seeing these situations as God calling us to him, or are we seeing it as something else? If we look at Saul, who later became Paul, Saul he thought he was doing the right thing because he was a Jew, and he was a very legalistic Jew, and he was doing what he thought he was supposed to do. And God, one day when Paul was on his way, what did God do? He stopped him and got his attention. And Paul had a turning point in his life at that point. And sometimes God uses very drastic situations to help us get back to that perspective of seeing him rather than seeing the situation or everybody around us or ourselves. So how do we develop this? So the first, just going off the last point, is prayer. It takes humility to come to God after all these things, after you've been holding on for something for so long, to finally give it up and say, okay God, obviously this isn't working anymore, I need you. it was a difficult thing for me, even being a Christian for 20, oh no, I was 19 at that time, for however long at that point in time. But it was difficult because I had to put aside my own emotions, my own feelings, and humble myself before God. And we might say we're humble because we're broken in those times, but we could still hold on to pride during those times. Just because we're broken and we're crying and we're down doesn't mean we're necessarily humble. And that was the perception that was wrong with me. I thought I was being humble before God, but I was being prideful. I was denying God of His opportunity to work in my life and say, no, I want to work in my life. I want to fix this however I see to fix it, or fix this situation however I see that it should be fixed, when the Bible doesn't say to do that. And James, continue on, I mentioned James 3-4 talking about steadfastness. James 5:1-5 talks about asking God for wisdom. We're in situations that we don't know how to respond. Don't look to your own understanding. Look to God. The Bible says, in James 1:5 it says, if anyone asks wisdom of God, He will give it. So why don't we ask? I think oftentimes because we want to hold on to what we want to do. So the first step is humbling ourselves in prayer before God. The second one is promise. What are the promises in God's word? If we look at when Jesus was tempted, or when he was facing the devil, how did he respond? Did he respond out of emotion? And Jesus at that point in time was very much a man. He had emotions just like any man would. But he responded with the word. Even David, and David is one of my favorite Bible characters. Everybody always said because he had 10 wives, but no. So the reason I like David is because even in all these situations where he was so wrong, he always used to come back to God, and he would focus on. You would see it in his words. He would speak of God's words. You could go to Psalm 27 where he's talking about facing his enemies and how he responded then. But we have to let God's word become so much a part of our lives that in those situations, the word of God is what drives our response, not our own perceptions about things. The only way we'll know what God's view is if we have that word hidden in our hearts. So that's the second one. So the first one is prayer, the second one is promises of God, which is His word. The third one is practice. Everything takes time, and you will fall. There's not going to be a point in time where in this life where after some situation or circumstance you just automatically get better and greater and everything's amazing after that. You're going to be facing trials. I don't think I have the I think it's Peter in 1 Peter as well. He was saying, you're going to face trials of many kinds. Those are, you're guaranteed that it's going to happen. So when these things come, you have that opportunity every time to step back and say, okay, I could choose to respond to how I want to respond to it, which is my own self. I could choose to respond the way God wants me to. And it's not always going to be perfect. There will be a lot of times when you do the right thing, and then there will be some times when you do the wrong thing. The important thing is that we always keep striving for the gold standard, which is in the Bible, and not just settling for what we think is okay. That's being self-righteous, and we are setting up our own standard for ourselves, which is just as bad. And the last point is preach. So we said prayer, promising the word, practice, and preach. Tell others what God's done. If God did something great for you, then you should tell somebody else about that, because you don't know what they're going through. In Revelation 12:11, it says, we overcome the devil by two things. Anybody know what those two things are? We overcome by blood of the Lamb, the word of our testimony. Right? Do we see the importance in our testimony? Or do we hide our testimony and say, that's private, or nobody needs to really hear that? Our testimonies are important. It's an encouragement for us because it helps remind us what God did. If we look back to the Israelites in the Old Testament, God just took them out of slavery, and then they're in this situation again, and they forgot that they were in slavery. And everything was messed up again for them. Are we like that many times when we're faced with situations do we forget about these things? Do we forget how God took us from wherever we were before and brought us to this point now? We might be where we should be or where we see ourselves in the future, but we have made progress, and it wasn't by our own will, it was through God. And the important thing to me in testimony is it keeps not only encouraging others, but it reminds us of what God did for us. It helps us to keep our perspective in check, and helps us to see God for who He is rather than who we think He is in those situations. I remember when I was going through all these things, somebody pulled me aside and asked what's wrong. And poured their heart out to me about how God helped them. I encourage you to do that, because some people need to hear that. Because sometimes this Bible is very distant, and they can't identify with it. That's why the Bible talks about your testimony. It said to go and preach, but it also said, give your testimony, share that with people, because they can identify with that. You might be facing a number of trials beyond your ability to cope right now. I don't know, like, a lot of times we focus on school, but school, a lot of times, is a very, very small part of the trials that we face. I don't know what you necessarily, but that was it for me. And in those times, God seems very, very distant. And we wonder, does God understand? Does He know the suffering that I'm going through right now? But reading the Word, when you look at Jesus, what did Jesus do? He suffered. The Bible said that He didn't experience any suffering that was above any man. He suffered greater than anyone ever would. Not just physically, but spiritually. He took the weight of all of our sin, every single thing upon Himself. He did that. And in those times, did He lose sight of what He had to do? On the night before, when He was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and He was praying and He was sweating blood. I don't know if you've ever been so stressed out. I have never. He was sweat blood. That's suffering. That's stress. And He's asking God, He said, God, if You could take this away from me, take it. But if not, let Your will be done over everything else. He took that. He chose to take that. So He understands. Don't let these times of suffering push you away from God. Change your perspective. Understand, use it to understand what your perspective is. And allow God to do the work that He wants you to do. You wouldn't always understand, and that's a whole next message. But trust Him. If He is the good God that you serve, then trust Him that good will come out in the end. In these times, don't look at yourself. I was reading my Christianity at that time when I was going through this phase, and one of the quotes that stood out to me, and I guess this is why I like C.S. Lewis so much, because it changed a lot of what he said, helped change my life. He said, look for yourself, and you will find in the long run only hatred, loneliness, despair, rage, ruin, and decay. But look for Christ, and you will find Him, and with Him, everything else thrown in. And that's basically the essence of what I'm saying now. Are we looking at ourselves or to ourselves in these situations? Are we focusing on our human limitations, our ruin, our emotions? Or are we looking to Christ? Are we looking to Him as the source? Because He is the source of all that is good. There's nothing that is good that is beyond Him. So whatever your suffering is or whatever your trial is, maybe you're going through it now, maybe you've gone through it before and you're still feeling those hurts. And even though the situation passed, the hurt is still there and you still haven't really reconciled to God because you still think, God didn't love me or something bad happened. I don't even know what to what to do about it. Take some time. We'll give you a chance now. Take some time to pray and ask God to examine your heart. You examine your heart. Allow God to come in and put whatever it is that's not lining up with His word. If it's pride, then let Him do it. And a lot of times, pride is the source of a lot of things. Don't let your own thoughts about what it should be stop you from getting God. He's available. He's waiting. He's there with open arms. And He's waiting for you to come. The best way I ever heard it put is, God is a gentleman. He doesn't force Himself. He doesn't come knocking on your door all the time and be pestering you. He's gentle. He will wait. He will wait for you to open up the door to Him. Will you open up the door to Him today? Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you for the life that your word brings. Thank you that in this life that we face suffering, that we don't face the sufferings alone. Father, forgive us for where we have put ourselves in your place and seen ourselves as the judge of our suffering and all our trials, and seeing ourselves as the source of the solution. Father, forgive us for making everything about us, Lord, and taking the focus off of you and all of it. Father, as we examine our hearts, Lord, show us the ways that we are not pleasing you, Lord, the ways that we are not looking to you, Lord, as the source. If we're looking to others or ourselves or before you, Lord, help us to put order back to these things in our lives, Lord, that we put honor to you, Lord, where you deserve. And Father, for everybody that's facing trials and sufferings of different kinds today, Lord, I pray that you give them your comfort, Lord. Lord, your word said when you were going on, you were going to send a comforter, Lord. Father, we thank you that this comforter is real to us, but help us to not push him away. So again, we thank you for your peace and for your love. And just continue to help us to walk along this path that you place us on. Not to let these things push us away, Lord, but to stay on this path that you've called us to. So we thank you.
Sides and take this time to spend with the Lord, to evaluate your heart and to just give full control to God about what is going on. I'm going to just leave this time for you guys. If you want to break out in groups, if you have someone you want to pray with, if you want to pray with one of us, anything, take this time really to spend with the Lord. And when you're ready, to come down these aisles, grab communion, and if you feel so, take it on your own accord, and if not, we're going to do it all together at the end. And we have something here on the slide here for you. Just remember that communion it's remembering and celebrating what Christ has done. Do this in remembrance of me. We're remembering what Jesus has done on that cross, what sacrifice He made for us. So let's just take this time a little longer. Whenever you're ready, please come up and take. said to them, I have frequently desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it again until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God. Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he said, take this and share it amongst yourselves. For I tell you, from now on, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. And he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, gave it to him and said, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way, he took the cup after supper and said, this is the cup of the new covenant, established by my blood, and shed for you.
Precious No one is Savior, and isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. No one Savior, isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. No one Savior, isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Bear your cross as you wait for the crown. Tell the world of the treasure you found.
Lord, we glorify your name, Lord. We bow down before you, Lord. For you are almighty, unfathomable love, Lord, and the greatest sacrifice has paid for us, Lord. Lord, bless us this week. Bless the people in this room, Lord, and bless the people who are not here. That, Lord, that they know that you are with them, Lord, and that as we go in our daily walk, Lord, that we will walk a life of faith, Lord, in you. Lord, you are great and you are holy, Lord. Be with us and bless us, Lord, your children of God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.